Great pleasure to welcome back to the show a good friend of us and a great friend of jazz in the Tampa Bay, Sarasota area. Dick Hyman will be performing on March the 21st up at the Hillsborough Community College in a concert, a 3 o'clock start, featuring the Century of Jazz. And we're joined now by Dick Hyman by telephone. Dick, good to talk to you again. How have you been?
Well, thank you. I've been just fine, and yes, you're absolutely correct. 3 o'clock on the 21st, we'll be doing a concert delivered to the highlights of a new multi-disc package with Arbor's Records has put out of my stuff called the Dick Hyman Century of Jazz Piano. And I'll be playing highlights out of the unique history of American jazz piano from ragtime on up to the present. And I believe that's being presented by the Jazz Club of Tampa.
Should be a great show, and I guess when you look at a project like that or decide to put that together, Dick, I know you're also historically you tell great stories about how jazz started back in, I guess, the late 1800s, early 1900s. How do you tackle a project like that?
Well, you have to be resigned to leave something out, especially if it's a single concert such as this is. But I'm just doing the highlights, and I think I can trace jazz piano syncopation back to maybe the 1860s with an American composer named Louis Gottschalk.
Wow, that far back.
I think so. And then, of course, you jump over to Scott Joplin and the Ragtime People and James P. Johnson and stride pianos and Jelly Roll Morton and Earl Hines and up to swing piano and then up to more familiar territory on up to the moment.
Was Joplin the first, I guess, popular star of piano ragtime music that people started, the general public knew at that point?
Yeah, Joplin had a hit in 1899 that sold many, many copies of Maple Leaf Rag. So that was the beginning of the whole ragtime industry, and publishers sold a lot of music during the next 20 years, which was all known as ragtime.
And back then, people bought sheet music. I mean, you obviously no records then, but you bought sheet music and played it on your home piano. I guess that was the selling point back then, wasn't it?
They did that, and they also used Nickelodeons, that is, self-playing player pianos in saloons and bars. That was even earlier than the popularity of the phonograph, although it had been invented before then. But the music was perfectly suited to pianos playing in public automatically. That also was the birth of ragtime.
Was ragtime the real forerunner of what became, I guess, swing music or big band music in the, I guess, the late 20s, right?
I think you can track it back pretty easily in some pretty obvious steps going back to ragtime. Going back before ragtime was a little trickier. You have to do some guesswork back. But ragtime certainly led into early jazz and 20s jazz and hot jazz, so-called, and then swing of the big bands and so forth. But I can find my discussion of it to piano, and we go roughly from Joplin on up to now.
How great was Fats Waller? I know you talked about him before in some of your shows. He had a unique style, didn't he?
Well, Fats Waller was more than a pianist. Of course, he was a great entertainer. He was a singer and a comic, and maybe much of the public didn't realize what a great musician he was. Same for Louis Armstrong, you know. He wasn't just a maker of Hello Dolly and a big grin and a funny voice. He was the great man, great jazz performer of the 1920s.
Did you ever have a chance to work with him, Dick? I know he lived in New York most of his life after a certain age, I guess, didn't he?
I never did work with Louis. I certainly played enough tributes to him and went on tour playing versions of his earlier stuff, but I never did meet the man.
Yeah, well, an interesting man, and I believe I read somewhere there's a whole bunch of audio interviews they just discovered. I guess it was in a archive somewhere. He used to have one of the first reel-to-reel tape recorders, and he liked to tape conversations and stuff. I'd be interested to hear that. Yeah.
He did that. That was his great hobby. He in the day of tape machines, he recorded himself speaking and talking with other people, and performances too. He had that all down, and I think it's all available at the Louis Armstrong House.
In Queens Village, wasn't it? Queens, New York.
In Queens, New York, yes.
Right. Great talents, and you'll hear some of that music as Dick will perform on March the 21st. It's Hillsborough Community College up in Tampa, just a short trip a little bit north of here in Sarasota. And it is the Century of Jazz. And Dick, I know is it a DVD set as well, or CDs?
The package includes 5 CDs and 1 DVD. Mm-hmm. And the DVD has a lot of teaching, a lot of, we set up the camera over the keyboard, and I talk and play about what I'm playing, and the camera records it all in a very clear way.
Well, that's great. And do you want to go to a website, Dick, or where can people get a hold of that?
Well, they can buy the product from my website, dickhyman.com, or from Arbor's Records. And I have to admit that a lot of those video things are available on YouTube.
Right.
You can kind of sample them there.
Probably illegally, as we've said before, but at least it's a good, it's a commercial anyway, right?
Yeah, it's that, yeah.
Well, if you want to see Dick Hyman, check it out on the 21st. It's a 3 o'clock start, afternoon show. And Dick doing his great Century of Jazz at the Hillsborough Community College, which is not too far away from, I believe, where Tampa Stadium is, Buccaneer Stadium, right on Del Mabry there. So.
I think you're right.
Dick, always great to talk to you, and I know you're going to be busy for a while now, but we'll look forward to talking to you again when you get some more shows in our area. Thanks for being with us.
Okay. Well, thanks very much. It's always nice speaking with you, Doug.